us, saved us. Love so strong that the hard times praised us. From base life roots to the freeway nights, we turn small rooms into launch pad flights. Yeah, this the vibe that raised us, made us, saved us. Love so strong that the hard times praised us. From base life roots to the freeway nights, we turn small rooms into launch pad flights. We begun surfing waves too low, made our own rules everywhere we go. Held tight to the truth that our parents declared. Anything is possible, the love stayed there. Now Rob's daughter ballin' on the end scene, Olay scene. Will's kids live dreams we never could have seen. This the vibe that raised us, made us, saved us. Love so strong that the hard times praised us. From base life roots to the freeway nights, we turn small rooms into launch pad flights.
For that.
We got to find your entire logo. Alexis, 30 years of friendship, which means that you come and hang out with me with no lipstick. Tell me why that is.
Why I don't have a lipstick, or why am I hanging out with you?
30 years of friendship, we've been through everything. When we were talking at the Vibe Room the last time you came out, you were the alliance partner for it. You were the whole reason why the Vibe Room happened. And I want to thank you for that. It was incredible. So many people were blown away by, one of the first questions that I asked you was like, when an entrepreneur starts out, they have this idea, dream, passion, thought process. But what's the thing that most of them are missing?
How to properly set up everything from the beginning, and really not realizing that they do have to pay taxes. And then on top of that, not knowing that there are tax strategies that are allowed by the IRS to not have to pay that many taxes. But I think we're so conditioned to just pay taxes every year. The other day, my husband and I were going through our old taxes. Do you know what he said to me?
What's that?
He goes, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see for the last however many years that we've been paying thousands and thousands of dollars in taxes. So that is the one thing that I think a lot of business owners that gets into or starting a business does not realize that they will have to pay taxes, but there are ways to not legally pay all that taxes.
Well, most people, when you're raised if you have parents, whether you have one, you have two, you have 14, my wife has a ton of them. But you always hear the only thing that you have to do is breathe and
pay taxes.
So when you're talking about business owners not paying taxes, this is one of the scariest things as a young kid. You know, I got to breathe, I got to pay taxes. And so that meant that I didn't have to do my homework. I didn't have to listen to my parents. I didn't have to do any of those things. My pops was giving me permission to not have to do anything. But you're telling me that I don't have to pay as much taxes as I think?
That is correct. So we have clients that are very young, on their 20s. We have clients that are on their 60s. So a lot of these people or business owners that are on their 20s and just realize that I don't have to pay all these taxes. I actually tell them, I was actually having a conversation with one of them last week. I said, do you realize the fact that you're 29 and you're realizing that there is a way not to pay all these taxes compared to all our other clients who's starting at 50? So you have 30 years, 34, 20 years ahead of them. I said, imagine how much money you're going to save now and the legacy that you're going to leave for your children and their children compared to someone who just came on board at the age of 50 and they want to retire when they're 55. So there are ways, a lot of different ways. You just have to know what those are.
I think the biggest thing for me is the personal part, right? And so Dan's in the room. For those of you listening, you can't see him, but she keeps looking over at him, making sure that she's good, right?
Oh, he's listening.
Of course, he's listening. Well, we hope, Dan. If you are listening, we hope so. But when stories become personal, that's when missions really take root, right? And yours was a personal mission. It wasn't just about, hey, I found this course and I want to I want to earn $1 million in 5 minutes, and therefore I'm going to start doing taxes. Yours came from a personal story. Yours came from you feeling something and experiencing something in your own family that made you not only want to get through that for your own family, but want to help other families to not experience that.
Correct. So my husband was actually diagnosed with prostate cancer. And the insurance came back and said, well, we're not going to cover that kind of radiation. So the only thing we had was our 401k. So I called the company and I said, well, we need around $200,000-$300,000 to get my husband treated. But I feel so bad. I feel so guilty because we worked so hard to get that 401k to that amount. And then the financial.
So wait a second. You were saying, well, he'll be all right. Maybe he'll just take some drink some tea or whatever. But I got to keep my money that I've been building for that. He's in the room. He can hear this right now too.
So,
and Valentine's Day is coming up quick,
right,
Alexis?
But
that's the reality, right? It's the reality. Like a lot of people don't even want to talk about that. They don't want to say, I actually was, not that you were contemplating whether you weren't going to, but it's the reality of I've worked my whole entire life. We built this thing up. We built it up together. And now, because an insurance company isn't coming to the table, that stuff might be in jeopardy.
Correct. The financial advisor did actually say, well, if you don't get that type of radiation, your husband could die. So he goes, picture this. If he dies, no income.
Unless you had life insurance.
Yes.
Okay. So
right?
Did you have a good life insurance on him?
Of course we did.
Did you contemplate that? I'm just joking.
Of course I did. That's why it was coming up, right? That's why
Dan,
I was
we're hearing the real
discussing
story,
it,
right?
And then he said, but if you do take the money out, he will continue to work. So think about that. It's not me. I'm not trying to make myself look bad here. But anyway, it was just a thought that it was, because he did tell me that I'm not the first one. I will not be the last one to take funds out of our retirement because of emergency. So then we did take the money out. And guess what happened? We took the money out because we were not knowledgeable. So when we took the money out, I didn't really realize that it becomes a taxable income. So on top of the money we took out, we got taxed.
So you took out $300,000.
Around 200-some thousand.
So
yes.
200-some thousand. Is there a different tax rate for taking it out of your retirement than, as an entrepreneur, most understand that, a W-2 employee doesn't understand this most of the time. They want to exhaust their budget. An entrepreneur doesn't want to exhaust their budget. The W-2 wants to exhaust it so they have the same amount next year, because if not, then they're not going to have that available to them. Their budget will shrink because they were able to do it with less. As an entrepreneur, we don't want to exhaust our budget. We would much rather have more. We would like to have a surplus or an excess, where a W-2 is always saying, I don't want a surplus. So
correct.
When you're going through, and an entrepreneur, when you go through a lot of times, and we want to have the least amount of taxable income possible, so our tax rate will be lower. Is it a fixed rate when you're taking it out of your retirement, or can you lower that rate as you go? So
when you're a business owner, right, and it depends on what type of entity you have. For example, if you're an LLC or an S Corp, the good thing about being a business owner is you have your own retirement account. For example, you're working as a W-2, they give you a 401k, you're limited to the maximum that you could put in for that year. For example, $23,500 for a certain year. But when you're a self-employed person, your business can contribute towards your own retirement. And then that becomes a business expense. And then on top of that, you can then also contribute. So now you're having double the amount, one from the business expense, and one from your own pocket. And that's why when you have a solo 401k for your business, depending on your age, if you're over 50 or 51, you can put almost up to $80,000. Being a W-2, you're limited to $23,500, whatever that amount is, right? So when you're a business owner, you have so much more control of how much you could keep in your pocket. I hope that makes sense.
It does. It does. So what about the tax rate itself? So is the tax rate any different, or can you manipulate that, or is it a fixed when it comes out of a retirement fund?
So when it comes out of the retirement fund, depending on the retirement fund, if you do take it out, depending on why you took it out.
Is there any reasons why I could take it out and it be not taxed?
Yes. So
What is
if
that?
you have, let's say, a Roth IRA,
Okay.
your money that you did put in, for example, you put in $10,000, you could take out up to the amount that you had originally contributed, right?
Got it.
That is not taxed. And then let's say whatever you
But that's
gained,
only in a Roth, though.
that's on a Roth.
Okay.
And then if you gained something, so a certain amount, whatever that is, and you want to take it out, if you take it out for, let's say, emergency or what have you, or any really retirement, then like we did with his 401k, the penalty, you don't have to pay a penalty.
Okay.
For that, the
But
10%.
you still have to pay the taxes.
Correct. As far as the tax bracket that you're talking about, the tax bracket is, we always, for the whole total income, we always want to shoot for no more than 24%.
Okay.
So you could actually manipulate. It's funny, on my way here, I was just talking to a spouse who owns the business and his wife. I said, okay, what does she really do for your company before we start paying her? He goes, well, she used to do this, she used to do that, and she's doing this now. And I said, okay, well, before we could really decide if we want to pay her, the goal is I want to make sure we do not affect your tax bracket. Yeah, we're trying to take money out of your business legally, but then if, let's say, we pay her $25,000 this year and you're making 100 plus her 25, that's 125. I want to make sure that now your taxable income is not too high. At the end of the day, you're having to pay more taxes. So the answer is yes, you can legally manipulate your tax bracket.
So you can. Now, what about we were talking about this the other day. What about from retirement to down payment for a primary residence? It's different if you're doing a secondary residence that you can then you can rent out. That's different. You can withdraw and invest that, right, with no penalty. Can you?
Which one again?
So if I went to buy a income property,
Okay.
and it was going to be rented out, could I use my retirement funds with no penalty and no tax on that and put it into real estate?
It depends on how that is set up, right? So
If I'm hanging with you, the answer is yes.
Okay, if you're hanging with me, I can, since you're familiar with it. Okay, so I'm also a financial advisor, so I kind of have to watch what I say here. I don't want to switch hats.
This is honestly, as
But
far
the
as a
answer
financial
is-
advisor too, I just want to let people know this. We're not
Yes.
giving financial advice. We're not doing that. You and I are having a conversation because we've known each other for 30 years. I'm super interested in this. I mean, I get a chance to be able to sit down with you. And the people at the Vibe Room, they got probably 18 minutes of you, which was powerful. And there were so many people that were blown away, but they wanted more. They wanted to be able to spend a little bit more time, you know?
Yes, yes. They could do that by, make an appointment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and to be able to spend a little bit of time with you, I just think is unreal. So let's go back to that part of it. So a person is going to buy a home, right? They have a retirement fund. So they have, whether it be a rollover IRA or they have a 401k. They want to put a down payment on a primary residence. What is the implications there?
So the implications for the primary, for example, right? Let me go back to the other one.
Okay.
For the investment,
Yeah.
yes, there is a legal way to buy all these real estate properties, right? For rentals and not get taxed on that.
Can you do
Number
a
one.
nightly rental or do you have to have a 12-month lease?
As long as it's for the rental, short-term rental is less than 7 days for now. So meaning, nightly. That would
Okay.
be nightly.
So nightly, so you can go and buy an income property with your retirement. You can just move that in as opposed to having it in stocks and bonds. You could have it in real estate.
Yes, yes.
interesting.
So a lot of our client actually do have long-term, short-term, done a certain way. So then the gains are not taxed. Okay. So,
But again, that's hanging with Alexis, understanding and scoping this out. How important is strategy? Because there's a lot of times we work on sound bites, right? So I got this sound bite. I heard it on TikTok. I'm supposed to do this with my taxes. And then your sitting over there, you're the expert, and you're laughing at it, thinking, are you joking? You just watched 90 seconds on TikTok, and now you're going to take and jeopardize your retirement, what you've worked for the whole time. What do you say to that, and how does that make you feel when you're seeing people that are in that realm?
There's a lot more to it. It's not just step 1 and 2, because it has to be done properly. Because at the end of the day, is it allowed? Just going back to that real estate, is it allowed? Yes, it's allowed. But you need to do it properly. The IRS is not just going to hand it to you in a silver platter. There's a lot of ways to do it, right? So we actually had a client, attorney, called our office, and I talked to the attorney. The attorney said, I need help. This lady did do what you were saying. She bought this rental, and now the gains are tax-free, but they don't know how to properly sell it. And the attorney doesn't know how to do it. The CPA, her CPA didn't know how to do it. They needed our expertise to help her be able to sell it, because either it was South Carolina or North Carolina, it was last year, they will not allow her to sell it. So what we did was I had to review her documents. I had to do a lot of research. And then I was the only one that could write the letter to the state to be able to allow the state to sell her property. So there's a lot of steps to it. And then just quickly to go back to the primary, there are some retirement account that allows you to take money out of a retirement, for example, your 401k, right? IRA, to take money out for a down payment to buy your primary, and then it's not taxed.
What is there a limit on the amount, or is it just the contribution?
I think right now, I haven't checked it.
Okay.
My husband is a fiduciary financial advisor right there. What is that? Because that's his specialty. What amount is that? Do you know? Have you checked lately?
Is there an amount then?
Have you?
Okay.
Yeah.
You avoid the penalty, but you still have to be taxed. You'll still get taxed on it.
You still get taxed
so you
on
still
it?
get taxed on it. So let's go back to Dan's situation where he finds out the prostate cancer. You're considering just kind of letting him go because you got good
I got
life
good
insurance.
life insurance.
And you thought that maybe this is a little bit too much for me to spend. I'm joking. Prostate cancer for me is not a joking matter, although I've learned to joke about it. My pops actually passed away from prostate cancer.
Sorry to hear that.
Well, it wasn't your fault. I find that the moment that we get a chance to be able to kind of laugh at things, we get to kind of move through.
I agree.
So once you guys had that, you take out over $200,000. You get taxed. At what rate do you get taxed on that?
Whoa. It was really high. We were above around the 35% tax
35%.
bracket.
So perspective-wise, $200,000, 35% of that is $70,000. That means you take out $200,000 and you only get $130,000, which isn't enough to take care of the medical bills.
Correct. Which also, by the way, when you also have your own business, we could have done that as 100% business deduction. We have a client right now. He goes to Peru every year, few times a year, and his medical bill's around $100,000. We are now able to deduct every penny he spends because now we had his business set up properly and legally, where every penny of that is a deduction for him, a business deduction.
How?
Call me and I'll tell you. Hang with Alexis, Kelly. Hang with Alexis. So this is what I tell the business owners. If you have children, right? Your children will need what? Braces.
Yeah.
Right? If you have 3, that's what? 6,000 each, right? So you say 5,000, easy math, 15,000. Would you rather get that 15,000 as a business expense, or would you rather pay 15,000 towards out of your own personal and not a business expense?
That's a simple one. It's
Correct.
A simple one. I'm not going to let you gatekeep on stuff anymore either. So, but with that, how does a person go about structuring and setting up? Because I think a lot of times, again, as an entrepreneur, when you go, you're locked in with passion, you're locked in with love, you're locked in, I'm giving the best product. I'm gonna, I'm gonna make sure that my logistics are good. I'm gonna make sure that it's there on time. I'm gonna take care of the client, all these things. But to be able to take care of the client, the business has to be profitable.
Correct.
And for it to be profitable, then you get into taxes. So an entrepreneur actually wants to show the least amount of profit, but when they want to go get financed, or they want to buy a home, or they want to get financed on a new business, or you draw money, they need to show profit. How do you work the balance of those things with your entrepreneurs?
So funny, I was talking to someone yesterday and she said she wants to buy a house at the end of the year.
Okay.
And her fiance,
Where does she live?
Hawaii.
So she lives in Hawaii. What's the property value? Is it still through the roof there in Hawaii?
Oh, yes.
Is it
Yes.
comparable to here, like Orange County,
It's
Carlsbad, or
very
is it
expensive.
even more?
It's a little, we were researching there.
Okay.
It's a little more expensive here, but very, very small amount.
Very, very small.
Very
Okay.
small amount.
So very comparable.
So to answer that question is a lot of the expenses that we do is it basically going back inside your pocket,
Okay.
right? We're taking the expenses from the business and legally giving it back to the family.
So tell me the braces. Let's break down the braces part. Because the braces part is massive, especially if your daughter hypothetically, doesn't wear her retainer, right? So hypothetically, if there was a guy and a woman who are really awesome people, have two great children, have phenomenal friends, it's all hypothetical. And their daughter gets hustled, well, the parents get hustled in 5th grade to get braces for the first time. Yeah. And then
Wow.
all her teeth fall out while she's got the braces in.
No.
This is hypothetical. This is not a real situation, but she's only got like 3 teeth left. And the orthodontist says, no big deal, because we're going to do braces again. Wait a second. And then hypothetically, that daughter doesn't wear her retainer, so she has to get them again. So now this family is on their 3rd round of braces
No.
for one child.
Ow.
How could that hypothetical family have recovered or recouped I don't know, it's $4 or $5 per brace, like somewhere around there. And I know it's not much. It doesn't cost much. How could a family hypothetically have recovered that
Okay, so
if they were business owners?
if they're business, you really have to be a business owner, right? So with that, so for example, if you're an S corp, if
Okay.
your entity, if you're an LLC or your corp, if you're an S corp, your entity's taxed as an S corp, we need to make sure that the spouse who really owns the business is the only business owner. The other spouse, let's say the dad owns the business, the wife cannot own that business, right? So then we could hire the wife as the employee of the business. So there's a lot of legal step. So for example, the braces cost $10,000.
Uh-huh.
The husband's business will pay the wife $10,000 through what we call health reimbursement arrangement. So then the wife, hopefully it's also the husband's children, right? Those 2 kids, right? So then the husband pays the wife the 10 grand. The wife pays for the children's $10,000 braces. But we just have to set it up properly. But she cannot legally be part of that S corp.
Now, does she get taxed on that money? So when she gets the $10,000, do I have to pay, say hypothetically, I'm the business owner, and hypothetically I have a wife that I paid. Now, do I have to pay payroll taxes on paying her?
Not if you hang with me. No.
So there's ways to be able to structure.
Yes.
So that
Yes.
that all comes out. Now, what about the part? Now, I can
Legally. I have to tell you legally.
I can almost feel like working with women for over 30 years. I can almost feel at times when there's not good communication, this takes great communication, that, wait a second, you mean that my name's not going to be on the business? That's going to put me in jeopardy in the event that something doesn't go well. And I know that all marriages work out all the time because marriage always works. And we know that from stats in America. you and I lived in Vegas, maybe the stats were a little bit lower.
In Vegas?
Yeah, I'm just joking. It was a little bit lower, I said. But now, what do you say to the wife or the couple that says, "Well, wait a second, like our names need to be on, both of our names need to be on everything"?
Not necessarily, right? So to go back to, let's say, the braces and then the S corp, the wife not being part of the S corp. At the end of the day, a family, especially with minor children, and they have all these assets, should always have a revocable living trust. That business will run inside the revocable living trust. Who is partly owner of that revocable living trust?
The wife.
The wife.
Got it.
So if the husband dies, the business is owned by a revocable living trust. At the end of the day, the wife owns a revocable living trust.
Does this help to circumvent probate also?
Yes, so revocable living trust then prevents probate, right? So then, but if both parents passes away, then the next person, let's say the executor, if the brother or the sister of the parents, then will run everything else.
Oh, we got to plug that back in. That's okay. It's got to go all the way in. Yeah, there we go. Click. Yep, there we go.
Sorry. So yes, so because we're just talking about that business. So when we work with our clients to do all of these things, we actually work with attorneys. We actually work, like you have met David Flores, right?
Great guy. I connected with him the other day. I talked to him.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So our company works with the attorneys, let's say with Main Street Professional to make sure the entities are all done properly.
Yeah.
Our company just doesn't do all of this alone. We actually will connect our client to make sure that HRA is done properly. It's not something that you could just, well, I'm going to do it this way. Like you were saying there earlier, can you just say, hearing it from TikTok? No, it takes a lot of support and movement to make it legally able to take all of these deductions. Because
it takes a team, right?
It takes a team.
So what about the person that says, yeah, Alexis, I have a business. These things, I don't know that I need a team. I'm a small business. I'm bootstrapping. I'm working from, when I throw out a figure like 5 million, some $5 million companies, they don't have enough in their head. They don't have enough EBITDA for them to be able to bring on a team. But when you and I started talking about it, I was like, well, this is accessible to every single.
It is, because not every team has to cost hundreds and thousands of dollars. It doesn't. The team that I work with, for example, with Main Street, they're really affordable. They work with our client. They give them discount. The attorney that I work with, he's amazing guy. He works really well with our client, and he's really affordable. You need to be able to find a team that actually really care about the people, right? I was talking to a client yesterday. He said to me, Alexis, the other company I was working with last year wants to do the W-9. However, they're charging me per minute, basically for however long it takes them. And I said to him, why don't you just have me handle the W-9 and we'll do the 1099 for you? I'm not going to charge you. Exactly what he said. He said, how come your company doesn't charge for every little thing that we're asking you to do? I said, because we don't work that way, right? You know exactly what you're going to pay every month. And I would never just send you an invoice and not knowing what it's for. We don't send an invoice. If we do, because it's outside of the work scope that they hired us for, I have to discuss it with you first. You have to approve it first. So you'll never have to just get a $2,000 invoice for no reason. And that is one thing that our client likes working with our company. And that also, we really get to know our client. I get to know our client if they're about to divorce their spouses. They will call me, they will text us and say, hey, I know we're having a meeting. Please don't mention this and things like that. It's really important to us that we get to know our client. We know who's getting a divorce. We know whose children just or child just died. We know who's sick. We know who's getting sick. And I think that is the reason that we're a 100% referral-based company. I never have to go out there, or we never have to go out there and find clients, is because our clients just keep giving us clients because they know how our business work.
Well, I can attest to that too, because I was saying it earlier and alluding to it earlier that you and I have been friends for 30 years.
A long
We've
time,
stayed in
Kelly.
touch. There's been times, there's been stretches. There was a stretch of, I believe it was 15 years.
Yes,
10
well,
10 or 15 years where
when we
didn't
moved
even,
to Texas.
yeah. And then I had sent, it's wild is you just never know. I said that at the Vibe Room, where you never know where someone's from. You never know where they're going, and you never know where you'll meet up with them again. So make a friend out of everybody, right? And I had sent out I don't even think it was called the Vibe Report at the time. It was just the Inchstones newsletter. I sent that out, and that's how we got back in touch.
Yes.
We
I
connected
needed a
that way.
haircut.
And so we were able to connect that way, which I thought was amazing. When you go back, let's go back to the team part of it. Again, I think that people get a little intimidated. They get intimidated by it, thinking that, when I get to a certain point, then I'll do X. And when I was opening our first business in Vegas, I asked, which was silly, right? But, well, you'll think I'm silly afterwards. You remember the last name Richardson?
Yes,
Yes.
we have talked about
He happened
that.
to
Yes.
be the owner of the Mandalay Bay. And I asked him, hey, by the way, do you have any recommendations as far as construction? Well, he happened to be the largest
Yes.
contractor in Vegas. And he referred me, and I had more than what I needed at that time. So I was set up for what I ultimately wanted, as opposed to being surprised by my success. Same thing happened in the financial world. I was very fortunate to have the CFO of the Mandalay Corporations, his accountant, become my accountant. Now, I only had 4 employees at the time on minimum wage, but we were set up as if we had 100 locations, because if we ever got there, we'd be ready.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to the entrepreneur that says, Alexis, this sounds great, but I'll call you when I'm ready, as opposed to setting it up and building a foundation for
Correct.
what could actually happen?
Correct. We have gotten companies or business owners in that situation, and then I still review what they present to me, and then I just tell them, at this point, it is really better for you to start right. Because if you don't start right, it's going to cost you more later. And I do see a lot of that. The clients that, like I had mentioned, was on their 50s, and they're just realizing there's such thing as a tax strategies out there, and they've never done it. They've realized how much, at the end of the day, hundreds and thousands of dollars they have lost by having someone for what may be very, very small amount to have someone on their team. I was talking to someone the other day, and I literally talked to a lot of people. So I don't like to use the word, this is something you cannot afford to have, because I don't want to sound salesy. But I did tell him, I said, the way I'm looking at this, you will lose more money if you don't go the route that we're showing you how to do it right. You will lose money. I was talking yesterday to a multi-millionaire lady, and she has 9 properties. 2 of them paid off, worth $2 million here in California. 1 in Massachusetts, worth $1 million, and the other ones, she does not want to put the properties inside the LLC. So I literally wrote down, while in a meeting, 1 property, 2 property, I wrote them all out. And I said, how much is your equity on each property? I wrote it all out, and I added it. We're looking at, let's say let's say around 10 million. Math easy, 10 million. And it costs you for 9, let's just say, make it easy math, 1,000 per LLC. So that's 9,000. I said, if you do not put any of this property inside an LLC, would you rather, again, lose, if you get sued, $9 million or 9,000, right? And she goes, but there's a lot of maintenance. And I said to her, what maintenance are we talking about? I don't sell the LLC. I'm talking to her. I said, I'm your tax advisor. I want to show you the money that we could save you. And then on top of it, the protection that an LLC does. LLC does two things: asset protection, right? And privacy. She goes, but I have enough insurance. I said, again, it's called insurance. You could tell an insurance, I want you to pay my house. Okay, I'm being sued, so they want to get paid $10,000. The person suing me wants to get paid $10,000. Do you really think the insurance is gonna pay $10,000? They can't even pay for my husband's health radiation, right? It's insurance. So you can't rely on insurance. But if you do the LLC properly and you maintained it properly, right? If you get sued, so that $2 million gets sued, it will only stay inside that bucket. So I'm like, and we don't have to put all of the properties in each LLC. We could actually even group them, right? I said, you don't have to have 9. Which one do we put? So at the end of the conversation, her husband's like, no, we need to do this. And I told her, do not step over $1 to save a penny. You have all these millions and you're concerned about $9,000? It's really much more affordable than that, right? And so we really take our time explaining to people why they needed to do A or B. We just don't say, okay, well, whatever, it's up to you. But I can only share my knowledge and then they can go from there.
So my pops, he went to work for a company, BP, and he was in power plant construction, and he was doing consulting for them. And they came in, and his contract came up, and he said, they said, "What do you need?" And he said, "Well, all I need is access to your bathroom." And he said, and the guy was like, "Well, what do you, you're very expensive, but we need to know a number figure." He said, "I just need to have access to your bathroom." And he said, "Why do you need access to the bathroom?" My dad said, "So I can get to the toilet." And the guy said, "Well, I mean, that's a pretty simple one, but that's all you're going to ask? This is a multi-billion-dollar project and you're asking for a key to the bathroom?" He said, "I need a key to the bathroom because I need access to your toilet, because all I need is a percentage of the money that you're flushing down the toilet."
I like
And
that.
when you and I were talking over time in this space, as far as with wealth and your tax strategy, it clicked for me that you're not an expense.
No.
You're just asking for access to people's bathrooms, because so many people and entrepreneurs are flushing money down the toilet, and yours is a very small fraction. I don't even look at it as a fee. I just look at it as you're just retaining something that these people are already losing.
We're actually an investment. When we talk to our client, we like to show them how much exactly they're spending every month. I was just reviewing one today, because actually after our meeting, I'm meeting with him. He's an anesthesiologist, and he's literally paying, let's say, $6,000 a month to the IRS versus whatever our fee is to retain that $6,000 a month. I would not ask for a $6,000 a month fee to save him $6,000. We don't do that. So that is one thing we like, because again, we're so conditioned to, we pay taxes.
Yeah.
But when you start breaking it down, this is what you're paying every month instead of you thinking yearly, right? Is $6,000 a month. What can you do with $6,000 a month? The lady that I talked to...
You could get a 1-bedroom apartment in California.
Yeah, right? This lady, the multimillionaire, she goes, "Alexis, it's January 15th tomorrow. Do I pay my $500,000 prepayment tax, right? $500,000. She's already paid $1.5 million. And she asked me if she should pay the $5,000. So I pulled all the IRS publication. I did my research. But because she just onboarded, we didn't do her 2024 tax return, and we didn't have all her financials. But I did tell her how to properly not have to pay that $500,000. This lady hired us for a 2-hour consultation. Just that one question on top of all the other questions we answered for her. Now she doesn't have to pay that $500,000.
That's a hell of an
Last
hourly
night.
rate. You are the busiest woman in showbiz. You've got a call to be able to be on. Do me a favor. The reason why I started the podcast is because of my 2 kids, Maddox and McKenna. You were around me before they were ever even a thought in their head, in my head or in my wife's head. And because I wanted to take the heroes in their life and I wanted to make them human. I didn't want them to worship idols. I just wanted them to be inspired by icons like yourself. What advice would you have for Maddox and McKenna? And if you could use both their names and call yourself Auntie Alexis, it would be awesome.
Yes, I am Filipino, so we do call, they do call me auntie. 2 things, which I also told my 12-year-old. You have a father who's a fiduciary financial advisor.
You didn't say their names either.
And
Auntie Alexis,
Auntie Alexis
Maddox and McKenna.
For Maddox and McKenna, these are my advice to you. Like I told my 12-year-old, but he doesn't care at this point, right? Is number 1, have your dad and mom pay you guys, right? Legally pay you so you could start saving for your Roth IRA.
Okay.
My son, who's 12 years old, we hired him a few years ago, and we're putting so much money towards his Roth. He's not happy with me that his income is going to that. However, I told him by the time he's 60, he'll be multimillionaire, tax-free. He will be happy. So Maddox and Madison, make sure your daddy and mommy opens you your Roth IRA so you could retire early. The other thing too is, as I was saying earlier, to our son is our kids, the fact that their dad is a fiduciary financial advisor and their mom is a tax advisor. Learn how to properly invest, not save, properly invest, and make sure you're utilizing all the tax strategies that the IRS allows us to have so we could create legacy. Legacy is not just about money. It's what you do with that money. God, we were talking this yesterday, that God does not condemn people who's smart with their money. For example, with wealth, right? But what we do with that, we need to start helping. So I when I pray to God, God, give me more clients, so I could help more clients through us. We could share what you want to save. So, because we also teach our people, the first thing I look at in their tax returns are they're giving to charity. These multimillionaire people do not give to their charity. They have to give because the money that we're actually saving, let's create legacy, but let's also help people, the one that in needs. Because if we have people, the one that in needs, whatever charity or church, God will give us more. My favorite thing, which is on my emails, actually, render to Caesar what is Caesar's, but give to God what is God's, right? I was watching this show called The Game Changer, Jesus. One guy was telling his friend who's a multimillionaire, the multimillionaire asked his friend, so you give tithing? The guy said, yeah, I give 10%. He goes, do you realize if I give 10% of my income, how much that is? That's a lot. And then the guy told his multimillionaire friends, do you realize what a 90% is? You have 90% of the income staying in your pocket, but you're only giving 10%. That's all we need to give. So that's why it's always our goal to also help as much as we can, earn as much as we can, so we can then also give. That is my advice to Maddox and
McKenna.
Did I say Madison?
You said Madison.
I am sorry,
it's okay.
McKenna.
It's all right. Your auntie doesn't even know your name. It's fine.
I've never even met McKenna.
You met Maddox at the Vibe Room.
Yes.
And what's going to be cool is you and Dan are going to be at the next Vibe Room also here in Carlsbad, March 11th.
Yes.
I know you got to get on a Zoom call. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
We're going to do more and more of this. I think that
Yes.
I believe that you're going to be here more and more so you can be a consultant for us. and a correspondent as far as the financial side and
Yes.
the wealth side for the podcast as we move forward. But it's been an absolute pleasure. It always is,
Thank
Alexis.
you.
And get to your other people who are way more important than us.
You're always important.
You're
I've known you
officially off
30
the hot
years.
seat.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Oh my.
yeah. And this the vibe that raised us, made us, saved us. Love so strong that the hard times praised us. From base life roots to the freeway nights, we turn small grooves into launchpad flights. Yeah, this the vibe that raised us, made us, saved us. Love so strong that the hard times praised us. From base life roots to the freeway nights, we turn small rooms into launchpad flights. We begun surfing waves too low, made our own rules everywhere we go. Held tight to the truth that our parents declared. Anything is possible, the love stayed there. Now Rob's daughter ballin' on the end scene, Olay scene. Will's kids live dreams we never could have seen. This the vibe that raised us, made us, saved us. Love so strong that the hard times praised us. From base life roots to the freeway nights, we turn small rooms into launchpad flights.